like E.F. Hutton, you want to listen. And I refinanced my mortgage through him years ago, one of the house that me and Cynthia reside in now, to get a lower interest rate. I was nervous. I said, man, you know I'm fooling around with church folks. But it wound up being a good deal. And that's my first financial experience with Floyd. And it was a wonderful experience. It was easy. And his wife was working with him also in that mortgage company. So he has a lot of background. So that's the first thing I know he did. He was in the mortgage business. He also is a corporate leader. He also is a certified business coach. He also a successful business owner. He also owned an advertising agent where he branded many 500 Fortune companies, did logos, and he also dropped a client off to Cent, who she still now works with. So not only he continued to bless others around him, he also was an entrepreneur on many startup companies. And he has been on countless magazines, features in magazines, and radio and TV appearances. And I can keep going on pages and pages, and we won't even get the seminar started. But that is Floyd, and he's quite humble. You would never know the qualities that he is and the amount of dead president that he have in his pocket. So he's that guy. He's that humble guy that you think you got to give him a quarter, but that's the way he lives. So he's that kind of guy, and it's been a pleasure to introduce a brother that has been faithful in God, number one. And so you're going to have a treat to listen to. I'm going to turn it over to Floyd.
All right, thank you, Mitch. He said that just like I told him to write it and say it, so it was good. I can't say how much we appreciate Mitch and Cynthia in thinking about us and inviting us here with you today. I'm so glad that we have a chance to come back to Athens. This is a place that's dear to our hearts because Carla, my wife, went to University of Georgia, and that's where I met her. When we were dating, I would come down here and spend some time down at University of Georgia. My daughter went to UGA too, so we are Bulldogs, right? We're Georgia Bulldogs. So, and I can't talk to you. I don't have enough time to tell you about all of the value that Cynthia Mitchell's family has deposited into us. Her mother fed us many of days when we were just children running around trying to figure out what life was all about. So I really want to thank that whole entire family. The whole entire family, because we go way back. I'm going to tell that how many years. So we were about 5 or 6 years old. We'll say that, right, when we first met, because it's been about 40 years since we met. 40 years. Can you believe that? So it's great. So I want to thank Carla for coming with me, my ride or die. We've been married. It'll be 39 years this year. 39 years in October. So I want to thank her for coming with me, supporting me. I've taken her on some crazy rides, and she always wanted to take the ride, and I think it worked out pretty good. So we're going to we're going to have a lot of information we're going to pack into this 2 hours, a lot. Usually we do these seminars, and we do 4 weeks. We do 4 Saturdays, 4 Saturdays to get all the information in. We're going to cover a lot. What I want to do is I want this to be participative. So we have a Q&A time, but you don't have to wait to raise your hands and ask me a question, because I want you to be able to get those questions out and when you're thinking about them, because that's where the value is going to come, when you ask the questions and we can actually make sure that you get the understanding about certain things as far as financial responsibility and stewardship that you need. So be participatory. You can ask any questions right in the middle of my conversation, and then we will have a Q&A at the end, okay? Want to thank you guys for coming out on a Saturday. It's amazing that you did that, so I want to give yourselves a hand for coming out on Saturday to be with us. I started doing these financial seminars for churches about 15 years ago, and so we've been doing them at Renaissance every year. We'll do another one, this Renaissance Church of Christ. We'll do one this year. I've done them in Florida, in other parts of the country, and I get value out of it because it's a labor of love for me because of where God has brought us financially when we start understanding that everything that we have don't belong to us, right? When we really internalize that and start living that, then God blessed us beyond our wildest dreams. So I want you to take that away from this seminar. So let's get right into it, because I said we've got a lot of information, and you can stop me anytime. So I like to use, we definitely will have a biblical thrust to everything that I teach. It's going to be biblical based, but we also are going to talk about facts and data, because we've got to look at that to see how, to get some understanding of how people navigate and move as it relates to money. And here's something that I pulled down according to the U.S. Census. And this is really, it's kind of shocking when you think about it. The average person in America will earn anywhere between $1 and $2.7 million in their lifetime. So people said, boy, if I told you, if I had a chance to be a millionaire, I really do X, Y, Z. But we all have had a chance. We've all had a chance. So the question is, what did you do with your millions? We went to Chick-fil-A. What? What'd you say? DSW, TJ Maxx. They got all our millions, don't they? Braves games. So we had a chance, and we still have a chance. It's just how we think about money and how we redirect our spending. Okay? And guys, when we talk about these type of things, I'm not only stepping on your toes, but I'm stepping on mine. Because we all have habits, behaviors that have hindered us from being more financially stable than we are, right? And that's really the truth about it. So let's talk about financial stewardship. The reality of it is anyone can reach their financial success goals if they start with a proper financial foundation. And we're going to be talking about foundations. There's 8 core principles I'm going to be talking about. And usually when we do these financial workshops, we have about 7 or 8 professionals come with us in different aspects of financial services. But as you said, Mitch, Carl and I have owned a mortgage company. I have my financial credentials. I can sell insurance and annuities. I don't do all that. But most of the things I'm going to talk about, we have had the experience of doing. So we'll try to abbreviate some of the 8 core steps that we're going to talk about today. And I'll take the seat of the 8 people or the 6 people that usually come with us. So when we talk about this whole thing about a financial foundation, this workshop will help us to identify the core biblical-based financial principles and allow you to begin creating the right habits and behavior to help guide you to this place we call financial freedom. And financial freedom looks different for different people. It can be a certain financial amount, but everybody's number is different, okay? So this is the thing that I want you to walk away with, and I know you probably already embraced this, managing God's money. So I'm not going to be talking about how to manage your money. We're going to be talking about how to manage God's money. Our Christian stewardship should be based on core fundamentals, beliefs, acceptance, and practices that everything we possess, including all our money, belongs to who? Belongs to God. So that's something we have to carry all the time in our minds when we're making these financial purchases and making financial commitments to buy something long-term or to make a long-term commitment financially with God's money. And so this is the scriptures. These are some of the scriptures I want to kind of use as a foundation to really undergird that statement that everything that we own belongs to God. I love the scriptures, for the earth is the Lord's and everything is in it, and everything in it. So everything that God created and put on this earth belongs to God. And we know that's true. Is that right? The earth is the Lord's. The earth is the Lord, and the fullness thereof of the world, and those who dwell therein. Psalms 24:1. The heavens are yours. The earth also is yours. The world and all that is in it, you have founded them. Psalms 89:11. And this is the concept the world doesn't embrace, but as children of God, we need to embrace this concept that everything belongs to God. So we can't get arrogant about the car we drive or the neighborhood we live in because it's not ours. We're just occupying those spaces until God takes it back. And he does take it back, right? He does take it back. We know the whole saying. We've never seen anybody who had their funeral driving a hearse and had all their possessions following them. It doesn't go with you, right? So we have to not get emotional about things that God allows us to be stewards of and not get arrogant and high-minded about those things either. So no one's better than anyone as it relates to what God owns and what he possesses and gives us stewardship over. So we should not have this social economic hierarchy that we have in our world today because we understand this concept. You and your possessions are the Lord's. Who has first given to me that I should repay him? Whatever is under the whole heavens is mine. Job 41:11. Who has given me anything that I need to pay back? Everything under heavens is mine, says the Lord. In order to be better stewards, we need to challenge these things. We need to challenge the way we think about money. And that's not just a statement. That's something that we really have to think about, and we're going to think about today. We have to challenge the way we think about money. When we finish this seminar, I hope you will shift the way you think about money. Some of us think that, well, I'm pretty good with money. But many times when we do a survey, we do a assessment, if I could use that word, on how we distribute God's money, we have to admit that I could do better. I could be doing better. The way we feel about money, the assumption we make about money. So here's the question. This sounds like a silly question, and this is where I want you to participate. What is money? What is money? A means to an end. That's a good definition. A tool. A tool. Money is a means to an end. Money is a tool. You must have read my slide, Mitch. It's an say that again? Yeah. Anybody else? A necessity. Good. Okay. Anything else? A method of exchange, like Mitch says. Go ahead. Yes, good. It's good. All those are right, but I like your definition, Mitch, a method of exchange. That's all that it is. That's all that it is, right? It's a method of exchange. It's your ability to exchange. You know, back in the day, before we had money, how did people get what they needed? Barter. You got a cow, I got a chicken. You got 2 chickens, give me 1 chicken, I'll give you whatever, right? So it's a method of exchange, just like he said. That was their form of money before we had currency, right? Nothing really changed about that because money is a method of exchange. If you go to a foreign country, your money might not be any good in that country until you exchange it for what they see as valuable, right? So we got to understand that we should not be, getting all tripped out about this money thing, how much you have or how much is in the bank or how much your neighbor has in the bank. It's just a method of exchange, right? And wealth is the power to exchange. It's the power to have more choices to exchange more things. That's what wealth is, right? And if we look at it this way, we won't get all wrapped up. Now, have you ever bought any of these high-end items? Look at these. Now, I'm not, and nothing wrong with it, because I have some of these items too. But think about it. Have you ever bought Michael Kors? Anybody ever heard of Michael Kors? Ann Taylor, Louis Vuitton, Calvin Klein, Coach, all these clothing? What's different? What's unique about these brands? Names. And because of the names, what does it encourages us to do? Place a value on it. Place a value on it. Status, right? we're willing to pay more, right? If there's a logo on this sweater and it has a Tommy Hilfiger on it, we're willing to pay more, Mitch, than we would if we went to Walmart and bought a sweater, wouldn't we? Right? Say it again? The same sweater. Because you can find the same sweater, right? Cars, same thing. It's just metal and some rubber. But when we fashion it into a nice design, we call it a Lamborghini. And we pay $400,000 for it. We got to change our mind, right? When we think about those things that man made and put value on it that God didn't put on it. That makes sense? So when we change our mind, then we can change the way we behave and the way decisions we make when we change our mind. But it's hard. Now, I'm not saying this is easy because your neighbor got that car and your neighbor wears those clothes and people come to church and they wear clothes and we want to be in fashion, don't we? But we can't let that override our ability to manage God's money in a way that is irresponsible, right? So let's look at this negative spending patterns. So what we're trying to do is change people's behavior by changing the way we think as Christians. These are negative patterns that we all are guilty of. Spending to impress others. We know we do that, right? Using credit to meet monthly household expenses. Extreme motivation to create a perception of status and success. And the world drives us to do that. The commercials tell us to do that. They show us cars, they show us lifestyle, and we want that, right? Because that's what they say you need to be able to get status and get respect. So we got to change that whole mindset. As God's stewards, we have to change our thinking and belief about how we use money. Because someone says, I think you said money was a tool. Who said, did you say money was a tool, Brother Freeman? Money is a tool. So we have to think about how we use money. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with your first fruit of all your produce. Proverbs 3:9-10. This scripture resonates with me because this is really where I start changing. I started changing my mind about how money worked. There was a time when I first started my business. I think Mitch said we used to run on an advertising agency, but I started when I was really young, in my 20s. And Carl and I had just got married. And I wasn't making a lot of money, and I had a lot of accounts where people were paying me 90 days. It took 90 days to get paid. And so we got behind on everything. I mean, I had creditors call me, bill collectors calling me, and every time I get a check from one of my clients, I would try to pay what we owe, and we always, owed more than what we had. And I kept getting behind, but we were Christians. We were faithful Christians, young Christians, going to church every day, every Sunday, going to Bible class, visiting the sick, going to see people at nursing homes. I was perplexed why we were so broke when I knew God took care of his children. I couldn't reconcile why we were struggling so much and never had money and couldn't pay our bills. So I was starting to think about it and read the scriptures, because when we have challenges and problems, we always can go back to God's word, right? So I started reading these scriptures like this, and this was one of the scriptures I fell upon. It says, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruit of all your produce. So I started checking myself and saying, are you really doing that? Because I was saying, yeah, God, I think it's responsible to pay your bills, and my client's not paying me, so it's not my fault. And when I pay my bills, I don't have anything left, so I give whatever I have left to God. I give whatever I have left. But I started reading the scriptures, but the scripture says, honor the Lord with what? Your first fruit, not what you have left. It's not God's fault that I bought a new refrigerator. It's not God's fault. So I think Carlin might not remember that, but we had a conversation. I said, I think we need to kind of shift the way we've been thinking about money. I know we don't have extra money and we don't have enough when it's time to pay the bills. But let's flip this. When I do get paid, what we're going to do is give God the first, off the top. I don't care. I know if we get $500, we got $1,000 worth of bills. That don't add up, does it? But 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread don't add up either. So let's just try what God said to do. So we did. We started, every now and then the checks would come in, and first thing we'd do would give God first, off the top, at least 10% or more. And then everyone else got paid later. I don't care who had to wait, they had to wait. And you know what happened? God started giving increase. He started blessing. I said, oh, that's how it works. God has abundance of wealth. He can give you whatever he wants you to give. He wants you to have, right? And so that we learned that lesson, and I started looking at other scriptures. If we follow God's principle, we should not worry about provisions, right? I have been young and now I'm old. Who said that? David. Yet not seeing the righteous forsaken or his children begging for bread. That was a scripture I read. I said, we shouldn't be begging because God said he's going to take care of his. And Matthew, we know Matthew's, the scripture. And why worry about your clothing? But if God so clothes the grass of the fields, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you? You a little faith. So we know this scriptures. I read that, and we start making changes. Then I start looking at the scriptures in Haggai. And you know the scripture, and this is, and Brother Freeman, you talked about this is a stewardship class and a workshop to help us with stewardship individually, but also collective. When we think about the collective, Haggai had to bring this message to God's people. Sometimes when we do well, we start doing well, and we start prospering, we start to drift away from God's work and his purpose and his vision for the kingdom, for kingdom business. We focus on our own personal agendas. So he says, these people say that time has not yet come to rebuild the house of the Lord. The scripture says they were focusing on their gardens, right? And God's house was was going into ruins because they lost their focus and objective of what God wanted them to do and what he wanted them to focus on. Is it time for you to dwell in your panel houses while this house lies in ruins? Consider your ways. And that's what we had to do. Carl and I had to consider our ways. You have sown much, but harvest little. You eat, but you never have enough. You drink, but you never have your fill. You clothe yourself, but no one is warm. And you who earn wages, so to put them into a bag like you have holes. We felt that. You can work 2 jobs and another part-time job. But if you don't focus on God and give God the best of what he have you to be a steward of, it's like you don't have anything. And it goes right through one pocket and out the other, right? Go ahead. Good.
The 10%, is that before taxes?
I always get that question. You know what my answer on that question is? That's a faith answer. That's a faith answer. If I got enough faith to give gross, then I'll give gross. If I got enough faith to give, if your faith allows you to give net, give net. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. Because if I feel like, and what I did was gave gross. Because I really wanted to try God. Just like he said, try me and see if I won't pour you out a blessing that you won't be able to receive. And he did. We tried him.
Well, I asked my pastor that question.
Yeah.
And he pretty much gave me the same answer.
Yes, faith. Because giving is not an act of benevolence towards God. He doesn't need your money. It's an opportunity for you to demonstrate your faith in God, right? So if I feel like I can give him gross because I trust him that he's going to give me more than I could ever receive, pressed down, shaken up, and running over, then I'm going to give him gross. So maybe my faith has gone to a level where I can give gross and not even worry about it. And that's good. But if you feel like, hey, I want to test, I'm going to try God, then you might want to do it, you might want to do it with net. So that's a personal thing, right? What do you guys think? Personal, right? Go ahead. That's a good question. We're going to talk about that too. Even the minister where I attend, he came to, when he first came to Atlanta, he came to our house and he talked about it, about finance. He and his wife, they were new, they were young, and he says, before I came to your house, I was giving my contribution from the money that I received for preaching. He said, but then he said, you messed me up because you said, I'm not just talking about preaching, I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about that Christmas money you got for Christmas. I'm talking about that birthday money you got for birthday. He said, man, I hated that answer. But I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about everything. All the money, because nothing belongs to you, right? And God gave it to you, and I want to give him the best and the first of everything. So did I answer your question? Did I answer? So, yeah, I am going to get to it. I know what you said. You said what about mission work? I'm going to get to that. We're going to get to that, yeah. So it says here, consider your ways, and you have so much. And we went through that. And then we don't want the money to go through one pocket and out the other pocket. Consider your ways, build a house so that I might take pleasure in it and that I may be glorified. You look much, and behold, it became little. When you brought it home, it blew away. And sometimes we don't figure out, why does our money feel like it's blown away? Because we have the wrong idea, and we're not being good stewards of God's money. How can we return when we have never gone away? That was their answer. Ever since, that's really about awareness. And that's what this session, this seminar is about, is you becoming aware. You don't know how many people have come back to me over the years after we went to the seminar and said, man, you know what? I didn't know that I wasn't being a good steward. I thought I was giving what God was pleased with. But I tried the way you said that we should be thinking about giving the first and the best, and everything changed. Everything changed. First, financially. So he says, ever since the days of your ancestors, you have scorned my decree and failed to obey them. Now return to me, and I will return to you. Say the Lord of heaven armies. But you ask, how can we return when we have never gone away? Awareness. They surely have went away, right? In the scriptures. Will a man rob God? You know that scripture. Yet you are robbing me, but you say how we robbed you in your tithes and contributions. Sometimes we're robbing God, and we don't even know it. We don't realize it. And God doesn't, and we're not being blessed. We've got holes in our pockets, and we don't know why are we not getting ahead, and we're not really prospering because we have not come to this level of awareness that we have robbed God. And that's what we got to do. We've got to get to this level of awareness that so now, I'm very generous. We're very generous with God as far as what He has allowed us to be stewards of. So it's almost like when you don't understand this concept, it's like almost like a financial curse. I got you. It's almost like a financial curse, and that's really what I felt was happening with us when we were young and we were, trying to do the right thing spiritually, but we were not understanding this concept. It felt like that we were under financial curse. Couldn't get above a certain amount of income. Couldn't get in front of the financial situations. It was like a curse. But when we changed and flipped this and did what the scripture says, bring your full tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, and thereby put me to the test, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the window of heaven for you and pour down for you a blessing until there's no more in need, or a blessing you can't receive. That happened to us. I won't give you all the details, but for some years later, after we changed our approach and mindset about our money and how we gave to God the best and the first, it changed our whole life, right? It turned everything around so much that I said, God, this is too much. It's just too much. And Carla remembers that, knows what that felt like, that lifestyle. But it's not just about that. It's just about, it gave me opportunity to understand how gracious God is towards us and appreciate whatever he gives to us. I'll get you for it. Go ahead. Yeah. That's good. That's what I was trying to say. I went beyond just worrying about not having enough, but went beyond that and understood that I need to give to God because of the love I have for him, right? So you're right. That's the ultimate place to be, where it's not, well, I need an extra $100, so I'm going to put $10 more in here. That's not what we were trying to do. That's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to bargain with God, right? So I'm glad you brought that up because that's a good point. Go ahead. Oh, before you say, because it might not be the moment that you turn your mind, you shift your mind, that you see that God is going to give you more stewardship. It could be 3-4 years later, right? Because our time is not God's time. So I love what you said there. And it was like what I'm talking about from time that we started to give, the manifestation, the total manifestation of God wanted to give us as stewards showed up 10 years ago, 10 years later. What if I say, this is not what I had in mind. God ain't done much for me on this. I'm going to stop this. Let me go back to give him what I left over. I would never have learned about the love of God and the mercy and grace of God, right? And it's not always money that he blesses us with. It's not always money. Go ahead. Yeah.
Once you start giving that way, your mind starts looking at things differently.
That's true.
Appreciation
Yeah.
for things starts, and so that manifests in every part of your life as well too.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that we did when we were younger too, I think it taught us too to not really worry about some of those name brand things.
Right.
Because we didn't.
No.
But I think you start just focusing on really what you need and making what you have
Work. Yeah.
Make it beautiful, whatever you have, the little
Ooh.
that you have.
Wow.
You make you're happy, content with where you are, and you make that beautiful.
That's a good point. That's a good point that Carla mentioned. So when our first house we had, what was like 600 square feet? Felt like 600. I think it was like 8 something. I think it was, tiny house. It was a tiny house before tiny houses were. No, the point I'm making, though, is that that's a blessing to have a house. And the way you have to show up is show God you're thankful for the house. Have fellowship at your house. Don't be ashamed of your house. Make it beautiful. Invite members to the house. Invite people that you can teach and have Bible classes with. We had Bible classes at the house. I remember having Byron over in that little house. Don't be ashamed of what God gave you a steward of. Be proud of that. And when you are a steward of that tiny house, if you want, God will bless you with something else if he wants to, right? And so that's really powerful, what you said. Go ahead.
Another thing you think about too, like, not everybody's going to be rich.
That's right.
But everybody can be a good steward.
That's right. Boy, you brought something else. Not everybody's going to be rich, but every Christian is rich. I was thinking about, who was it? Jeff Bezos. You guys know Jeff Bezos. He's the CEO of Amazon. Jeff Bezos has 3 kids. And one of the children was adopted from Japan or Asia or very poor area. Think about this. Jeff Bezos is worth, what, about $137 billion? Of all the people who could have adopted that young lady, she was adopted by Jeff Bezos, right? She was adopted by Jeff Bezos, and she became an heir of what Jeff Bezos has. That's not something that she can take credit for. She became rich beyond her wildest dreams because she became an heir through adoption. That's you and me. That's you and me. What are we talking about, Jeff Bezos? We are heirs of God. We are richer than Jeff Bezos. We were adopted, right? We had nothing. We can't take credit for that adoption. So as we glory and amazed by this issue with Jeff Bezos' daughter, we can turn around and be amazed by what God has given us as heirs of the fortune that He possesses. We have to really internalize that because we don't really live like that. We don't live like we're wealthy. All of us are wealthy beyond our imagination, right? So why are we going to be tripping about this little stuff that we have on this earth? Little houses and cars that will perish. We have eternal life of the riches and being the heirs of the Creator and heirs of Jesus Christ. That's great, right? So that's great. So I'm glad you brought that up. So we need to be steward of whatever He gives, big, large, or small. Let me move on. You guys let me know when it's time for breaks. Mitch, let me know when we break. So let's get started. He's like, I didn't get started, right? Let's get started with identifying the levels of financial strength by using. Now we're going to talk about the practical. I always like to start with the spiritual and the biblical principles, and then we have to integrate the practical of how to apply these principles, right? That's where the discipline comes, because discipline is what makes you successful, right? So let's talk about the financial wheel. Identify these financial strengths by using the wheel of wealth assessment tools. On this wheel are 8 core pillars needed to build a solid financial base, right? We're going to talk about these 8 core principles, and you guys can start asking questions because I'm going to touch on everything related to financial foundations, right? The first thing we have to talk about before we talk about you getting financially stable is let's talk about the 8, okay? Let's identify the 8. The first is cash flow, okay? We've got to talk about cash flow. This is practical stuff right here. And then the second pillar is cash reserves. The third is debt management, insurance, your health. I'm going to step on a lot of African American toes when I talk about your health. Fried chicken, greasy foods, processed foods, all that, guys. Your house is a temple. Your health is your wealth. So I know we're going to step on a lot of people's toes, including mine, but that is a core piece of financial stability. That's a core piece. One health concern. My mother had metastatic stage 4 cancer. Last year, she died last year. No fault of her own, but her medical bill was probably like $300,000. One instant like that could wipe you out. Now, she couldn't help getting metastatic cancer. She didn't smoke, lung cancer, but sometimes we can prevent health issues, and we have to think about that, incorporate that in our financial strategy. We have to. Credit rating, investments, and then education. And we're going to talk about all these real quick. So let's talk about cash flow. If we don't get this part, if we don't address this cash flow problem, we can eliminate the seminar. We can close the seminar down, because there's nothing else we can do on these 8 pillars if we don't address the cash flow piece, right? Cash flow is king. And we've got to understand how to get that fixed. Cash flow can be your job. your paycheck. It can be your retirement income. It could be your Social Security, whatever it is. But we have to really address the cash flow. What did you say, Carla? You asked something. It could be your side hustle, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So cash flow is something we got to talk about. It's considered the first core pillar and building block for financial stability because without predictable source of income, nothing else on the wealth wheel can be accomplished. As the saying goes, cash flow is king. Okay, so we got to talk about we got to think about cash flow. So here's something about cash flow. I want to see if you think these numbers shock you or you think they make sense. As of July 22nd, and it's really 2024 because I did my research and it hasn't changed. It was the same in 23, but in 24, the average annual pay for African American jobs. And I use this African American as a category because there is a difference between African Americans' pay and Caucasian pay. You know that, right?
Yes, sir.
For the same job. Right. It's not your imagination. It's fact. It's data, right? So the average income is $58,950 a year. Just in case you need a simple salary calculator, that works out to approximately $28.34 an hour. This is equivalent to $1,133 per week or $4,912 a month. Now that's what it is. But when people look at that and think about how much they make, they have a lifestyle based on that number. But you can't have a lifestyle based on that number. Why? This little guy called FICA, or this big guy called FICA. Taxes, right? So you're not bringing home $1,133 a week, right? So we can't live like that. So what does the take-home pay for this salary? What do you think the take-home pay is for someone who makes $1,133 a week? $750? $800? Some of that in that range. Yeah, based on how many deductions and all that you have. So we've got to really live on the net, right? We've got to live on our net. So keep that in mind. And so that's the reality of us as African Americans. We have to fight to get our cash flow to a place where it makes sense. Now, retirement is not about age. And a lot of people, I used to, when I was doing the financial work with clients, they would tell me like, yeah, I'm 60 and I'm gonna be glad when I'm 62 because I'm gonna be retiring. I'm glad when I'm 62 because I'm retiring. Like, who told you that? Because it doesn't matter, 62 or 65 or 67 is not the retirement age officially. You can retire. You can retire, I think, at 62. Yeah. But retirement based on your personal your personal needs is based on your financial situation, right? So people are like, I'm retiring, and then I've heard some people retire at 65 and figured out they have to go back to work. So go ahead. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. That's right. It's not. It's just a government thing. But yeah, so retirement is not about age, it's about income. You can retire at 40. You can retire at 35 if you've got the resources. But if you don't, then the retirement is just a notion, and it doesn't become a reality. It can be just put you in a position to struggle. And we don't want to have to struggle, right? Because it takes us off of godly agenda when we struggle financially. You know, when we, as an elder, a lot of times, I think I've been an elder for, I don't know, how long, 25 years? Something like that, maybe longer. A lot of the issues we deal with is financial. People just don't have the means. to deal with certain things. So a lot of those issues of benevolence. And what we try to do is to offset that by have financial stewardship classes and having people be more prepared for the future, right? So this is a test for you guys. Let's say if you're in your 40s right now, and you want to retire well, not that. You're 40 right now. The average age life expectancy for males is about 82 or something like that. I'm just going to use 80. Women live longer, right? But let's say you're at 40 and you want to live to 80. You're at 40 now. How much money do you think you're going to need to retire to live to 80? $3 million? Who said that? Okay, yeah. $3 million. What do you guys think about that number? Yeah, that's an accurate number. That's a very accurate number. That blows people's minds, though. I got to have $3 million if you're 40. Based on the cost of living and how it's going to accelerate, you're going to probably need about $3 million. What if you're 50? You're probably going to need less because you're older, right? And you only have 30 years. You know, let's say, I'm just using 80. I hope we live to be 100, but let's just say you live to 80. You're going to, everything's going up, yeah. True. A lot of it is that question is kind of hard to answer because, like you said, Brother Freeman, we don't know what you've done up to 50. So if you haven't done anything and put anything away, and you got 30 years, how much money are you going to need to retire? So you can look at all these numbers. 60, how much you going to need to be retired? We're not 60, so we're focusing on retirement. Now, I'm never going to retire, right? Carla wants to retire like yesterday. I like what I do, so I don't want to retire. But we have a number though that we need to have, and it's where you're talking about in those 7-figure range. That's I do. I have a number because I focus on that more than Carla does. But that's really reality. So I was going to ask you something about this. So let's say some people will say, well, if I had $1 million, I'll be set. Do you think that's true? What do you think? How much do you think that it would take for you to live on an annually basis per year? Anybody? And y'all gonna have different answers. What would it take you to live for 12 months annually? 80 to 90,000. Okay. So if you want to live, if you were in your 60s and you lived on 80, let's say 90,000, how many years would that $1 million last? 10, at the most 10 years. You see what I mean? At the most 10 years. He said 80, 90,000. See, we don't do those numbers in our head. At the most 10 years. What happens after 10 years is over? Right? You gotta get a job. Huh? You're a Walmart greeter. Plastic or paper. Right? That's true. We see it all the time because people don't think through what we're talking about. Do you have your hands raised? We're going to get to that. Yes. So you set me up for where we're going. You can't just save. You can't save because the cost of living is going to eat up your savings. So you have to have a strategy, right? You can't just save, you got to invest. So that's good. Go ahead.
I guess my question would be, does that take into consideration multiple sources of income? Like if you're a married couple,
Yeah.
you got 2 income on both that just based on 1 income.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's really based on 1 income. Yeah, that's really based on 1 income. Good question. Go ahead. Go ahead, Carl. You forgot. Okay, you can hit me back when you come back. So the second core pillar, we're going to get to what you said. When you talk about investing, we're going to get to that. I'm just building up to it. Go ahead.
So I think it helps us to maybe start thinking about our standard
Oh, most definitely.
too, yeah.
Most definitely.
And like where you want to live, because that 80,000 can go a long way. As the sister mentioned,
Yeah,
expenses.
yeah, yeah.
So depending on how we use it, it can go a long way.
That what you said couples with what the young lady said back in the back, investing. Let's taper our spending so we can have cash reserves. Because it's not about how much you make, right? It's what you do with it. So if we can taper back our spending, no matter what that number is, salary. You talk about you and your wife together. We can have cash reserves to do what she said, invest, right? What was your name? You're reading the book Essentials? Sharif. That's a good book. And then we talk about, everybody's talking about minimalism. Because we all have a lot of stuff that we don't need, right? And so if we start really taking taking assessment of things that we really don't need and back off of those things, we can come up with these reserves that we need. And we need to start doing it as early as possible. 5 minutes? Okay. As early as possible. Because to do it today, in 10 years, that extra money that you have created for cash reserves that she's talked about that you invested could be compounding, right? The power of there's two incredible pieces that's going to help people get to where we're talking about, to a place where they can actually have financial freedom. Time plus money. You need the time for the money to compound, right? So cash reserve is defined as having enough cash that is liquid on hand to cover at least 90 days of total living expenses. Proverbs, the wise have wealth in luxury, but fools spend whatever they get. Plan for the famine, just like we saw in the Bible in Genesis 41 and 54. Plan for the famine. There will be a famine, right? A couple more minutes. Financial stewardship. Lending Club payment. This is from Lending Club. This is their research. It says it revealed that 60% of adults live paycheck to paycheck. And don't be ashamed if that's you today. I told you that was us one time. We live in could be different circumstances why you live paycheck to paycheck. But what we want to do is we want to correct that, right? 60%, that's a lot. Of people live paycheck to paycheck. Individuals who earn over $100,000 also included in this group. So a lot of times it's not about making a lot of money and you don't live paycheck to paycheck, because some people who make a lot of money, they elevate their lifestyle, right? So it's all about discipline and the way we think. It's not about really always how much we make. I'm gonna get these last two slides and then we'll be done. Financial stewardship. Half of Americans consider themselves financially secure. That's half. But many others do not feel that same level of comfort. Now, when I use these statistics, when I say half Americans, that's majority white people. That's fact. So when we look at this data, there's going to be a larger percentage of African Americans who feel like they're not financially stable, right? You know that, right? So 1 in 10 consumers do not have any savings, while slightly higher percentage of consumers say they have less than $100 in their savings account. That's about 13% of Americans say they have less than 100% in their bank account. Now let's take considerations of African Americans and also people of color. That number is going to be a lot higher. There's a large majority. We probably could double that. Probably 20% of African Americans, Hispanics, other ethnicities don't have $100 in their savings. A further 14% of Americans say they have between $1,000 and $4,099 in savings. Altogether, that means that half of Americans, white, black, Hispanic, half of Americans have less than $5,000 to fall back on. Isn't that something? Half Americans have less than $5,000. What if you have that heart attack? What if you have that stroke? What if you have that health concern, like my mom did? $300,000. Yeah. $300,000 in 1 year she accumulated in health bills. She had great benefits, had great service. But what if she didn't have great benefits? It's called BK, bankruptcy. And it happens every single day. Any thoughts on that? Someone have their hands raised? We'll take a break, but I just want to give you some of the foundations. Then we're going to start talking about some solutions when we get here. We got a lot to cover. So we'll take, what, 5, 10, 15? 10-minute break? Okay, we'll come back. All right. All right, this been good for you? All right, good, all right. I'll reach out like that.